Doing something a little bit different today for the YouTube channel. I was on Twitter earlier today and I noticed something that was tweeted out by someone. Maybe it was TMZ Sports. I know the article is from TMZ Sports, so I want to give them credit for what I'm about to discuss. But I noticed a tweet, and the tweet was talking about Kurt Angle, and Kurt Angle was thanking Ric Flair. The actual title of the article was "Ric Flair saved me from signing with WCW," and this was posted August the 21st, 2017 at approximately 7:07 a.m. Central Standard Time. Again, Kurt Angle mentions Ric Flair, and he says, "Ric Flair saved me from signing with WCW." Now, before I go over the article, I'm going to play a small snippet of the audio from the actual interview that TMZ did. So let's play that and let me know what you think. Well, I should say this: the audio is not all that great, but here it is, and I'll play it for you, and then we'll discuss it after.
Got it. Kurt, what's up, brother? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Oh, wait, man. Sorry, Ron. Dude, real quick. So obviously, Ric Flair's cool. Do you have any kind of work with Ric Flair right now? Like, have you reached out on your behalf?
No, I just sent him a tweet on Twitter, and I learned a lot from Ric Flair. He's the guy that pushed me to go to WWE instead of WCW. I was ready to do a deal with WCW. He said, "Don't come here, go to WWE because Vince McMahon will know what to do with you." And I studied his career, and I saw the way Rick worked. He was giving. He didn't always take. He was always wanted to make his opponent look better than him, and he always was looking out for the match, not himself. So that's how I carried myself, and it's because of Rick.
Okay, so there you have it. That's the audio from the interview from, I don't know who from TMZ did it, so forgive me there. But there is the interview, or the audio from a on the spot location where Kurt Angle was, I believe, doing a promo for the new WWE game 2K18 party. So the article then goes on to say Kurt Angle owes his entire pro wrestling career to Ric Flair, telling TMZ Sports it was the Nature Boy who talked him into signing with WWE instead of WCW. It doesn't say what year, it just says, and we know when he signed with WWE, but it doesn't say what year this discussion was had. It says Angle was at a WWE, and look at me, I'm like Angle right now. I can't even say WWE. Angle was at a WWE 2K18 party over the weekend when asked if he had a message for the wrestling icon who's recovering from a medical emergency. And Angle went on to say, "I learned a lot from Ric Flair. He's the guy that pushed me to go to WWE instead of WCW. I was ready to deal with WCW, and he said, no, go to WWE because Vince McMahon will know what to do with you." What's interesting is that Flair was actually with WCW at the time he counseled Angle. I mean, we all know that Ric Flair was part of the last match that WCW had, so at that point, of course, Ric was with WCW. Angle, of course, went on to become a WWE Hall of Famer and explains why it might not have happened without Flair. Now, I was curious because I'm bad with dates a lot of times. You can probably tell from my last YouTube video. I mentioned Herb Abrams' death, and I said in the goddamn graphic I got August the 3rd, 1986, knowing darn well it's August the 3rd, 1996. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. For this particular article, we all remember the incident with Kurt Angle in the ECW arena and why Angle ended up not wanting to go to ECW. I believe that was in late 1996. I want to say October 26th of 1996 is when that happened. We also know that Angle actually, this is according to Wikipedia, competed in a battle royal at the National Wrestling Alliance's 50th anniversary show that was held on October 24th, 1998. And then it was in October of 98 that Angle did sign an 8-year contract with the World Wrestling Federation at the time. He was assigned to the Power Pro Wrestling Developmental Territory in Memphis, Tennessee, where he began training. Angle's first appearance on WWF television was on the March 7, 1999 episode of Sunday Night Heat, where he took part in an angle with Tiger Ali Singh. This angle involved Singh paying him money to blow his nose on the American flag. Angle instead blew his nose on Singh's flag and fought him off. Now, goes on to say his first WWE match was a dark match victory over Brian Christopher on April 11th. In the following months, he wrestled on house shows and in other dark matches in preparation for his televised debut. He also continued to wrestle for PPW, which is Power Pro Wrestling, and on July 24th, he won the PPW Championship. He then lost the championship to Steve Bradley on August the 7th. Now, it goes on to say, after several weeks of vignettes, Angle made his televised WWF in-ring debut on November the 14th. Now, the thing about that I found, I guess, November 14th, 1999, thing about that is, when he would have first signed with WWF in October 1998, WCW was, to me, I guess I'm remembering the timeline, 96 it hit hot, through 96, I want to say the NWO was on fire. I vaguely remember 97, but I'm starting to remember like 98, things are starting to tail off. Now, it got nowhere near as bad as what I thought it ended up doing before they went out of business. But my point being, when he would have signed and Ric Flair would have given him that advice, that's kind of telling because Rick obviously been around forever at that point, is saying, dude, you don't want to come here. Now, Angle doesn't say anything about Rick saying it's a sinking ship or many of the other things that you'll hear in the rise and fall of WCW from Rick. But the point being, 98, I'm assuming that discussion is when Rick tells him that. No, maybe before that. I don't know. It's hard to speculate, but for Ric Flair to tell a talent like Kurt Angle back then, nah, man, you don't want to do this. Don't come here. Go sign with Vince McMahon. He'll know what to do with you. That to me also, I wish I knew the exact date of that conversation because to me that would be interesting. Because obviously, if it's in 98 when he says that, that's one thing. But if it's earlier, are we in 96 when Rick tells him that? Someone out there listening to this will know the answer and will comment below. But here's the thing I want to pose to you before we get out of here. The question is, and put this in the comments. I don't care. Tell me to go screw myself if you don't like this commentary. But I want to know, anyone out there listening, what would have happened if Angle would have signed with WCW? How would his career have been different? Seriously. I mean, just think about that. Knowing what ended up happening with WCW going out of business just a few years later, what would have happened if Angle instead doesn't take Ric Flair's advice and opts to sign with WCW and not the WWF and Vince McMahon? So that's the point I wanted to make. I should have mentioned it earlier, but that is what I'm very interested in to hear what, the followers of Booking the Territory and on our YouTube channel think. What would have happened if Kurt Angle would have signed with WCW and not taken Ric Flair's advice? How does his career pan out? Does it pan out differently? Does it not pan out differently? Does he end up, because WCW ends up getting bought out by WWF anyway? Does it still work out the same? What do you think? Let me know. Let's hear it in the comments. For now, I'm about to get out of here. Please hit the subscribe button for us. Also, check out our twice a week podcast on the go, Podbean, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, TuneIn Radio. Just search Booking the Territory wherever you get your podcast from and subscribe. 2 shows a week, one on Smoky Mountain Wrestling, solely dedicated to Smoky Mountain Wrestling. The other, mostly on the NWA, but we got great interviews up like from Jim Cornette, Tracy Smothers, the One Man Gang, Sam Houston, just to name a few. All of them are up there for you to enjoy for free. The links are in the description below of this episode. Check them out. Subscribe. It's all free, like I said, and we'd appreciate your support. Other than that, that's it for, today's, I don't want to call it update, but for today's segment. So hope you enjoyed. And again, comment below. What would have happened if Angle would have signed with WCW instead of WWF?